The men of a place called Jabesh Gilead in the Old Testament, the enemy is threatening them. They don't want to fight, so they try to lower the cost. They try to make a deal with the enemy, and this speaks of the dangers of compromise. I want to preach a message I've entitled, Making Deals with the Devil. We're going to skip through 1 Samuel 11. We'll start at verse 1. Then Nahash the Ammonite came up and encamped against Jabesh Gilead. All the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, make a covenant with us, and we will serve you. Nahash the Ammonite answered them, on this condition I will make a covenant with you, if I can put out your right eyes to bring reproach on all Israel. Verse 6 and 7, then the Spirit of God came upon Saul when he heard this news, and his anger was greatly aroused. So he took a yoke of oxen and cut them in pieces and sent them throughout all the territory of Israel by the hands of messengers, saying, whoever does not go out with Saul and Samuel to battle, so it shall be done to his oxen. And the fear of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out with one consent. Verse 11, so it was on the next day, Saul put the people in 3 companies. They came into the midst of the camp in the morning watch and killed Ammonites until the heat of the day. And it happened that those who survived were scattered, so no 2 of them were left together. Making deals with the devil. Let's talk about deals with the devil. Our text is talking about people who want to make a deal with their enemy, and their enemy is called Nahash the Ammonite. The name Nahash literally means shining serpent, and you know that the Old Testament you have physical and literal events, but actually are spiritual or symbolic. Nahash, the shining serpent, is a picture of the devil, the enemy of our souls. These men, they were facing brutal warfare. This man, if he attacked them, he was going to brutally, not just kill them, he would torture and would do terrible things. But this is true for you and I. The enemy of our souls hates us. Listen, the devil wants to destroy you. John 10:10, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. 1 Peter 5:8 in the New Living Translation says, stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. So these men, like us, are facing an enemy who is determined to destroy. Very simple thought in this text. The men of Jabesh didn't want to die. Unless you are strange, that would be true for most of us. They didn't want to die. But the problem is they were unwilling to fight. So your option when you have an enemy, you either fight them or you die. They didn't want to do either. So in our text, they proposed to make a deal with the devil. What do we have to do to get you to leave us alone? How can we lower the cost? Verse 1, the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, make a covenant, a pact, a treaty with us, and we will serve you. This is what we call compromise. Compromise means an agreement by making concessions, or in other words, lowering the cost. God had told his people, you're going to face enemies in the land. Again, physical enemies back then, spiritual enemies for us. And God put it in plain terms. The enemies, there is only one option. You need to fight them. You need to kill them all, or they will kill you. They will ultimately have an effect on you. Deuteronomy 7:16. You shall destroy all the people whom the Lord delivers over to you. Your eye shall have no pity. You shall not serve their gods, for that would be a snare to you. So God had said very clearly, fight, or they are going to overcome you, or they're going to destroy you. But the men of Jabesh says, we don't want to fight. How can we make a deal so that we don't have to do what God told us to do. So why would you want to compromise? I think there are numbers of reasons. Unbelief. Many people simply don't believe what God says. God says, if you'll fight, I'll help you, you'll win. Deuteronomy 20, verse 4, for the Lord your God is he who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you. But many people, they feel, I just can't do that. There are people that they come pray at an altar, but in their hearts they say, I just can't. I don't think I can live for God. I can't do right. Unbelief. And because they don't think they can, they want to make a deal. They want to lower the cost. Weariness. People get tired of the battle. The moment you give your life to Jesus Christ, you enter into a conflict. You're now on God's side in opposition to the powers of hell, and you are going to have to fight if you want to survive over time. Hebrews 12:3. Consider him who endured such hostility from sinners against himself, lest you become weary and discouraged in your souls. Making a stand for Jesus isn't something you do one time. Deciding to do right morally or in integrity, that is not something you do one time and then you're done. You're going to have to do that again and again and again. And some people, the Bible in many different scriptures says they simply get tired. They get tired of doing what's right. They get tired of the problems that come sometimes from standing what's right. And weariness says, how can we just not fight so hard? Ataturk was the commander of the army in Turkey. During one intense battle in World War I, his men had been fighting and fighting and fighting. They were exhausted, but he knew that the enemy forces were going to be coming against them. And he warned them, if you fall asleep now, you will never wake up again. Weariness. So some people say, how can I make a deal so it's not so tiring? And then there's cost. I want to be honest with you. Serving God, there are wonderful benefits and blessings, but there is a cost. And if you're going to do right, there is a price to pay for obedience to God. There's a personal cost. If you serve God, that means you no longer can serve yourself. You can't do everything that you want to do in life. Matthew 16:24, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So that means then when we get saved, there are things that we intended and God says, no, I want something else for you. There are things that we feel are okay and God says that's not okay. There's a personal cost to serving God. There's a relational cost. When you choose to follow Jesus Christ, that naturally puts you in conflict with people. Matthew 10:36, a man's enemies will be those of his own household. Some of you were shocked when you got saved. You thought your family would be so pleased that your life is changing, but in fact, your family got very upset. You're changing the family religion. You stop doing what they're doing. Mockery and persecution. When I got saved, I didn't pick quality friends. And when I told them that I was no longer going to party with them, I was going to live for Jesus Christ, they delighted in mocking. They would wait until everybody was around and they would begin to, hallelujah, Mitchell, praise the Lord. Mitchell's a Jesus freak now. And they liked doing that. I didn't want anybody to mock me, but that's the cost. Sometimes people are not pleased. So for whatever reason, and there may be others, the temptation when faced with the cost is people want to compromise. They want to lower the cost. How can I do this cheaper? How can I belong to God, but it not cost so much? And so when people are compromising, they're not saying, you know what, I don't want to live for God, I want to be a Satanist. They're just saying, is there a way that I can still do what I want, that no one will be upset with me? I want to lower the cost. Let's talk secondly about losing your eye. It's interesting. They come to the devil and say, can we make a deal? And he says, absolutely. The devil is the ultimate used car salesman. Have I got a deal for you? Nahash hates them. He is coming against them not because they have a minor tiff, a little spat, a little disagreement. He wants to destroy them, but the devil's a strategist. He knows that he doesn't have to kill them. Listen, if the devil wants to destroy you, he doesn't have to turn you into a drug dealer, a Satanist, a transvestite in order to defeat you. All he has to do is get you to compromise. If he can get you to lower your commitment to God, it will have the same ultimate effect of destruction as open battle. In our text, it gives us a powerful lesson if you're ever tempted to compromise, and that is there is always a cost to compromise. Can we make a deal with the devil? And Nahash says, absolutely. On this condition, I will make a covenant. In other words, a peace treaty. I won't kill you, but this is what it'll cost you. I want to come and I want to poke out. I want to stab and remove all of your right eyes. And on that condition, then I will make a deal with it. Listen, you can't compromise with the devil. You make a deal with the devil, it's not free. It's not cheap. There is always a cost. Think about the cost of compromise. When you compromise, you lose the ability to defeat the enemy. He was very specific. He didn't say pick an eye, any eye. He said, I want your right eye. And the reason why the majority, left-handed people, the majority of people in the world are right-handed. And so usually that meant if they're fighting, in those days, swords or spears, they would fight using their right hand. They often would go into battle holding a shield with their left hand, and they often would have it up here, and with their right eye, they're judging and they're able to fight. One commentator says he who opposes his shield to the enemy with his left hand, he hides his left eye. He looks at his enemy with the right eye. He therefore who plucks out the right eye makes men useless in war. The devil says we can make a deal on this condition. I want to make you vulnerable. I want to make you unable to resist. Listen, once you make a deal, I don't know what the compromise is. Is the compromise in honesty? Is it in commitment? Is it morally? Whatever way the devil is tempting you to compromise, if you give in to compromise, you're not going to be able to defeat the enemy anymore. Once you compromise in honesty, you're not going to be able to resist peer pressure or lust. It's not going to happen. It's not like, okay, I'll let you put out my right eye, but that's it. Then I will never. No. Once you start the process of compromise,